MetaphorReFantazio, the first project of Atlus's new creative department, Studio Zero, led by Katsura Hashino, the previous director responsible for the Persona franchise. Before I begin, note that this video is mostly spoiler-free, for it would ruin the game for those of you who didn't play it. The story is set in the now kingless kingdom of Uchronia, due to the assassination of the late king by Louis Goyaburn, the antagonist of this game.
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
The rightful heir to the throne was cursed many years ago by Louis and is now in a deep mortal slumber, hidden away by the Resistance. The protagonist and Gallica are sent by the Resistance to find a way to break the curse and stop Louis to hopefully have the prince take the throne. However, things take a turn when the dead king's magic, the moon from Majorama, manifests itself and declares that the next ruler will be chosen by the people, through some kind of popularity contest.
The people of my land desire a new king, and I shall provide.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest,
which will later be known as the Contest of Kings. The intrigue is pretty straightforward, even more so since what would normally be considered a mystery, like the king's magic, can be summed up to... But that's what happens in fantasy, with the abnormal becoming normal, making it a bit harder to create mysteries without having one of your characters point out that something is weird according to their world standard. The archetypes are a good example of this phenomenon. As soon as you unlock them, every character asks what and why they are, which then also makes you curious about their origins and how you are able to use their power. Power that will be a tremendous help when facing foes. Re Fantazio's combat is close to Persona, with similar turn-based mechanics, but instead of abusing an enemy's weakness to make them lose their turn, you do it to consume less of yours. An action costs a token, but landing a critical hit consumes half, and does grant you one more. The archetypes are what allows you and your friend to use magic. You can only have one equipped at a time on a character, with the possibility to set abilities from others onto yours. Of course, everyone who helps you on your journey has an archetype that can be awakened, so to unlock more, you'll have to spend time with your followers. Also spend 5 fucking minutes unlocking them in the menu for everyone, and the deeper your bond, the stronger they'll become. And before you ask, no, there is no dating system in MetaphorReFantazio. You can erase your damn comment. But man, I wish I could date Brigitte. Carefully choosing which one you'll use to explore and fight is key, because not only do they unlock different skills and fusion attacks, but they also give you bonuses when exploring the dungeons. You can land real-time attacks in the overworld, and if you land enough without sustaining damage yourself, you can enter the battle with advantage, or instantaneously defeat enemies if you are substantially stronger than them. However, the enemies can also fight back, and if they hit you, they'll start the fight by fucking you up. Burn up! Do not fret though, the dungeons are meticulously designed to give you plenty of ways to avoid being noticed and take on enemies from behind.
Why are you running?
But here's the deal, I found the main dungeons to be irregular in terms of quality. The game only has a few big dungeons and many small dungeons, rather than only having big ones, like in Persona 5. So while some are awesome, others are clearly forgettable because of their lack of uniqueness, combined with how little time you actually spend in them. I'll be fair though, I can understand having smaller dungeons to make the player go through various different locations in one story arc. So that might be my personal preference.
Hello, motherfucker.
Be that as it may, it doesn't excuse their music. That is a recurring problem when having a religious-style soundtrack like the one you can hear in Elden Ring, if you don't know what I'm talking about. They just lack personality.
This is blasphemy! This is madness!
It doesn't mean they're bad. I personally love the regular encounter theme. But most are ordinary, although I will defend the fact that there is true artistic merit to Shoji Meguro's work, because the soundtrack strongly influenced this feeling of epic you have when traveling and fighting. Like Gallica says,
music was the first magic this world ever knew after all. Makes the road a little easier.
I have the battle theme living rent-free in my damn mind for good reasons. If you like Etrian Odyssey, specifically the first game, there's a little gift for you inside Re Fantazio, something to tickle your fan bone, but nothing to lose your shit over, I'm afraid.
Meanwhile, in our universe...
Is that Lost Shinjuku? Huh. Earlier I talked about spending time with followers, and I meant that literally, because just like in Persona, there is time management in Re Fantazio. There is a vast amount of activities that you can do, from sightseeing, to debating with other candidates, or even growing seeds that makes you, stronger. Huh. Nah, I'm kidding. There's no way they would put that in the game.
But he's crying. What is this fruit?
You see, In old times, so long times ago, people ate this to reach a higher plane of existence.
Oh my. Every single one of the available activities have unique dialogues, so it never feels repetitive, even if the end goal of most of them is to enhance your kingly attributes. Furthermore, since you need to travel all over Uchronia, you're gonna spend a lot of time in the Gauntlet Runner, which is your locomotion device. And while you do, unique events will appear before you. Again, literally. So even when going from place D to E for a quest, the time it takes you to get there feels like it's a part of your adventure rather than just an annoying intermission. However, the key part of the game's immersive world are your companions. They're complex individuals with their own convictions and flaws. Just look at Hulkenberg. She's a brave, serious person. And as you get to know her, you see she is haunted by her past failures. She feels responsible for the prince's disappearance and considers herself a fallen knight. Yet she has both silly and happy moments.
Hulkenberg, you're... I am absolutely not old-fashioned or stubborn!
Along with cute quirks, making her character feel more human, and also one of my favorites, along with Yuva and Stroll. The Persona games tend to be restricted by their setting. Since you're in a high school, you mainly interact with high schoolers, dealing with high schooler problems. Don't take me wrong, they're great stories, but they have a limited range. Re Fantazio is not hindered by this because its fantasy world is more universal by default and shows people with different experiences, ages, and regrets. This is even more true with the Contest of Kings, allowing more frank and open politics, with each candidate playing a major role in giving credibility to the different conflicts of the world. Katharina in particular comes to my mind. She wished to free the Paripus from discrimination and poverty by dealing with the rich French life. But little by little, she sees that even if her intentions are good, fighting injustice with injustice will only bring more bloodshed down the road. You understand that this is a game with lots and lots of dialogues, so if you don't like to read, it might not be for you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
When playing, you have to accept that it's based on purpose. It wants you to take your time and understand the nature of those around you. It comes from the developer's desire to mirror a fantasy as well as the real world to the player, hence the name.
It all makes sense now.
No. It damn well doesn't.
It becomes obvious when looking at this game's version of humans, depicted as dangerous, monstrous creatures. When the player encounters a human, it means they're in for a long and arduous fight. Facing a human is facing your fears, your anxiety, and moving forward. Finally! There is a huge emphasis on personal growth and the power of hope in a hopeless world. Just like Final Fantasy VI! I don't know what you're talking about. While the protagonist's convictions lean towards an ideal, on the other hand, the thoughts of the opposing enemy seem more realistic. Because of that, Re Fantazio can seem a bit naive in its presentation at first, with the main cast going on and on about equality and helping everyone. But that's the idea. There is no manichaeism, no truth, no cake, just people fighting for what they think is best for the world, their utopia, even if some have a weird vision of utopia.
Pleasures will rule the city. A bar on every block and a flagon in every hand. All you can drink!
I guess this guy watched The Wolf of Wall Street. I found an interview in which Hashiro has said that nowadays, reality is often unreasonable, and there's a tendency to say that ideals are ultimately just wishful thinking. Even if one upholds justice, conflicts are not easily resolved. Nevertheless, he thinks that in modern times, we need some form of ideal. This struggle between the people's ideals and reality is ubiquitous in this game. Take Yufa, for example. She's part of the Mustari, a tribe whose tradition and legends go against those of the Sanctis Church. She's the archetype of the naive but enthusiastic character. Since she grew up on Ethria, she's a complete stranger to the outside world, so her naivety makes her an easy target for those with ulterior motives. But she helps others regardless of this, even those who reject and loathe her, never backing down from what she believes is best. It's what makes this game so compelling and beautiful. Rarely do I spend so much time digging a side character's psychology, the point of one's life, what it is to face your anxiety, the implication of blind faith. These are few of many themes that you will face throughout your adventure in Uchronia, whether it's explicitly or implicitly. The fate of the world is tied not just to the king, but also to the individual growth of its followers. As corny as it may sound, the hero is nothing without his allies. Oh, I forgot, you also have a sugar mummy.
This here.
Here comes the money!